What if the loneliest moment of your life was the exact second the universe finally answered back? Tonight, at 2:13 a.m., in an empty control room under a sky full of stars no one else was watching, Elara heard a voice that shouldn't exist. A voice from the dark. A voice that said her name, without ever speaking it. This is the beginning of a love story that breaks every rule of reality. A human heart, and something impossibly far away. If stories that make your chest ache and keep you up wondering what happens next are your kind of escape, hit that like button right now if you're ready to feel it all. And subscribe to Chronicle Hub with notifications on, because this is only chapter 1. Everything changes from here. Let's begin. Elara had learned that the universe was loud only when you weren't listening properly. Most people imagine space as silent, cold, empty, still. But in the control room, at 2:13 in the morning, it never stopped talking. Static hissed softly through her headphones. A constant whisper. Radiation noise. Pulsars ticking like distant clocks. The background hum of everything that had ever exploded and refused to fully disappear. She sat alone, as she always did on night shift, a paper cup of burnt coffee cooling beside her console. The lights were dimmed to preserve the instruments. Screens glowed in shades of blue and green, mapping regions of space most people would never think about. Elara liked it that way. No one bothered you at night. No meetings. No small talk. No pretending to care about things that didn't matter. Just signals. She adjusted one dial, eyes half-lidded with fatigue, scanning a narrow band of frequencies the department rarely bothered to check anymore. It was mostly dead noise, old debris from collapsed stars, cosmic background radiation, the echo of a universe that had already said everything it needed to say. She was about to mark the hour as uneventful when something shifted. Not louder. Clearer. Elara straightened in her chair. The signal didn't spike the way artificial transmissions did. It didn't pulse or repeat in any obvious pattern. It wasn't a burst or a flare. It was subtler than that. Like someone clearing their throat. She leaned closer to the screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The waveform was smooth, almost too smooth, threading through the noise with an elegance that made her stomach tighten. "That's strange," she murmured to the empty room. She isolated the frequency, filtering out surrounding interference. The signal held steady, unaffected. Not degrading. Not drifting. It wasn't behaving like a natural phenomenon. Her pulse picked up. Elara had been doing this for 7 years. She knew the difference between unusual and impossible. This was the second one. She ran it through the analyzer. No known source. No catalog match. No orbital explanation. It wasn't coming from any object that should exist where it was appearing. And then, against every protocol she'd ever been taught, the signal changed. It responded. Not in words. Not yet. But the waveform bent, subtly mirroring the rhythm of her own system's diagnostic ping. A call. And an answer. Elara swallowed. "This isn't funny," she said quietly, though no one was there to hear her. "If this is a glitch, you're a very elaborate one." Her fingers moved before she could second-guess herself. She sent a controlled response, a simple, mathematical acknowledgement. Prime numbers. Safe. Standard. Harmless. The reply came instantly. Not numbers. Structure. The signal reorganized itself, folding into layers that repeated with intention. Patterns nested inside patterns, elegant and deliberate, like someone proving they understood the language, without using it. Elara's breath caught. She pulled off her headphones, suddenly too aware of how alone she was. The control room clock ticked softly. 2:21 a.m. She should log it. Flag it. Wake someone. Follow procedure. Instead, she put the headphones back on. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. I hear you." She sent another response, more complex this time. A variation. A question, disguised as data. There was a pause. Not a technical delay. Not lag. A hesitation. Then the signal returned, altered, refined, careful. Elara's skin prickled. It wasn't just responding. It was thinking. Minutes passed. Or hours. She wasn't sure. The exchange deepened, the patterns growing richer, more adaptive. The signal began anticipating her inputs, meeting her halfway, adjusting as if learning her preferences. At some point, without realizing it, Elara smiled. She hadn't smiled at work in a long time. She leaned back in her chair, eyes burning slightly, exhaustion forgotten. Whatever this was, it wasn't random. It wasn't noise. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a presence. "Who are you?" she asked softly, knowing the words were meaningless to whatever lay on the other side. She sent a new sequence, not a question, exactly. A representation of self. A signature. Her system. Her location. A fragile digital version of "I am here." The response was slower this time. Long enough that doubt crept back in. Maybe it had been a fluke. A rare alignment. Maybe she was projecting meaning onto math and silence, like humans always did. She exhaled and reached for her coffee. Then the signal returned. And this time, it wasn't abstract. The waveform modulated into a frequency range uncomfortably close to auditory. The system flagged it automatically, translating electromagnetic variation into sound for analysis. Elara froze. A tone emerged in her headphones, low, steady, unlike anything she'd ever heard. Not mechanical. Not organic. Something in between. It shifted, resonated, layered harmonics folding over each other. And then. A pause. The tone adjusted again, refining itself, compressing, stabilizing. As if calibrating. Elara's heart hammered. "Don't do this," she whispered. "Don't." The sound resolved. Not perfectly. Not cleanly. But unmistakably shaped. A voice. It took time, it said. The words were careful. Spaced. Like someone testing unfamiliar tools. Elara tore the headphones off her head, chair scraping loudly against the floor as she stood. Her breath came in sharp bursts. The room felt suddenly too small, too real. "No," she said aloud. "No, no, no." Her hands shook as she stared at the screen, half expecting it to go dark. To vanish. To erase itself. It didn't. The waveform remained, steady and impossibly calm. After a moment, with trembling fingers, she put the headphones back on. "Hello?" she said, her voice barely more than air. There was another pause. Then the voice returned, softer now, less strained. "I was not certain," it said, "that you could hear me." Elara sank slowly back into her chair. You're speaking," she managed. "That's not possible." "Your system's translated," the voice replied. "I adapted. A beat. I hope I have done so correctly." Her eyes burned. Tears threatened, uninvited and confusing. "Who are you?" she asked again, the question finally escaping with all the weight she'd held back before. The signal shifted, the voice resonating deeper for a moment, as if considering. "My designation cannot be rendered accurately in your language," it said. "But, you may call me Aaron." The name landed softly. Beautifully. Elara let out a shaky laugh, one hand pressed to her mouth. "I think I'm hallucinating," she said. "I think I've finally lost it." "You are not," Aaron replied immediately. The certainty in the voice sent a shiver down her spine. "You are present. You are coherent. Your cognitive patterns are stable." Another pause. "You are alone." Elara's laugh died in her throat. "That's not," she stopped. Tried again. That's a strange thing to say. I am observing, Aaron said. Your environment contains no other consciousness. Elara glanced around the darkened control room, the empty chairs, the silent monitors. No, she said quietly. Just me. Silence stretched between them, not empty, but full. Charged. Why me? She asked at last. Why here? Because, Aaron said, and the word carried something like regret, you answered. Elara closed her eyes. Some distant part of her mind screamed that this was wrong. That she needed to pull the plug, call her supervisor, follow protocol. But another part, a deeper, older part, leaned forward instead. Where are you? She asked. The hesitation this time was longer. Far, Aaron said. And closer than is safe. Elara frowned. Safe for who? For you, Aaron replied. A chill slid down her spine. What do you mean? The signal wavered. Just slightly. If this communication continues, Aaron said carefully, your world will begin to notice. Elara's pulse thundered in her ears. Notice what? There was a pause. Then, quietly. Me. The screens flickered. Alarms did not sound. Nothing dramatic happened. But somewhere deep in the instruments, a new reading appeared, subtle, but undeniable. A deviation in Earth's magnetic field, so small it would have gone unnoticed by anyone else. Elara stared at it, heart racing. Aaron, she whispered. Yes? If we keep talking, she swallowed. What happens? The voice in her headphones softened. If you keep talking, Aaron said, everything will change.